Community Board meeting. I'll call for any apologies.
It's Jean. She had another appointment that she had to attend.
Jean Ashby.
Yeah.
And I'll put in a future apology for the 20th of September meeting. So I'll just move that those apologies get accepted.
I'll move that.
Thank you, John. Second by Jean. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. So now we will move into public forum, and we have a number of speakers in the room today. I'd like to invite Alf and Wynne McKim to come up. And
I have circulated the board, so you would have had an electronic copy as well, but just in case.
yeah, have a seat. Oh, or if you prefer to stand, it's up to you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Coromandel-Colville Community Board. My name is Wynne McMinn. My husband Alf and I live at 27 Golden Shore Place, Coromandel-Kapanga. You've asked for submissions as part of the consultation process for the new plan for the Coromandel Town bypass. Both my husband and I have submitted submissions, and I'm here to speak to those as part of the public forum. We are vehemently opposed to the new plan for that proposed bypass, the impact of which has already significantly affected us personally. The effects in the future will be devastating to us and will totally destroy our peaceful retirement. When we considered building our house here in February 2016, we were informed that a bypass of Coromandel Town had been planned, but at that time understood it would run directly across the stream from the end of Victoria Street, some 30 metres from our property. The residential section next to us provided a buffer to that proposed road. We were told this section was being considered for purchase by the TCDC for a reserve with a small edge to be taken for the burn. While we were not happy about the proposed bypass, we liked this location sufficiently to decide that we could live with it at that distance. After purchasing our house and land package, there was an issue with flooding from the Karaka stream over the reserve and across the field behind our property. So I had an on-site meeting at that time with a representative from the TCDC and from the Waikato Regional Council during our house build in 2016 to discuss possible ways we could protect our property. Nothing was mentioned at this meeting about any possibility that the section next to us would be anything but a reserve or become a road. I was surprised that a member of the board was unaware of this flooding issue in the proposed new route. We were certainly made aware that the area between us and the Karaka stream was a flood protection zone. And we have seen for ourselves in the past 6 years how the stream comes over its banks and flows across this land. Any road or bridge would need to be raised substantially to avoid flooding, meaning an increase in costs. The construction could also exacerbate flooding in the Green Hills area. When the business case was done, was this taken into account? The bypass route IBC feasibility assessment identified a number of benefits this proposed bypass would bring. The first of which, and I quote, improved amenity and well-being through the town centre. And in the TCDC Waka Kotahi record of point of entry, section health and wellbeing, stated noise, vibration and traffic pollution from through traffic on Kapana Road currently undermine the health and well-being of the Coromandel Town Centre. I'm sure you will be able to see how this statement now applies directly to us and other residents of Green Hills and Woollands Avenue. It appears that the problem would merely be moved, but not removed. Is our health of no importance? In conclusion, the bypass will decrease pedestrian safety. It will provide a race circuit for local hoons, unimpeded by the need to slow down for the town. One only has to see the number of areas where skid circles abound on roads around the town to see that this will provide yet another track. It will negatively increase health and well-being issues for residents as noise, vibration, greenhouse gases and emissions will merely be moved from the town centre into residential areas. All this without thought to the reduction in value of every property as a result. Will the TCDC be reducing rates in this area? On a personal note, I would add that changing the plan after the subdivision at Green Hills was built and settled seems to be morally wrong to me. What was a residential section adjacent to us and thus providing a buffer to the proposed bypass will become a road. The impact personally on our health and well-being and our home is huge. And although we did due diligence and knew there was a plan for a bypass, this new plan has totally changed the aspect of our home. We planned a quiet, peaceful retirement after many years of working hard. We found a modest place with attractive views and a peaceful environment. We would certainly not have bought here if this new plan had been in place, or there was any suggestion the residential section next to us would become a road. We will be severely impacted by having a road just 12 metres from our bedrooms and roads and a bridge close to 3 sides of our home. We already have one road. The value and structure of which will also be severely compromised. We will not only have noise, vibration, lights, fumes and danger, but will look out onto a road and bridge instead of trees, birds and cattle grazing. Our well-being is already being impacted with the worry of this plan hanging over us. And we can see ahead that our peaceful retirement and life into the future is filled with even worse. Are we just an old couple that don't matter? We feel we have been left in the dark, over the proposed changes until it was made public, and we feel powerless in that. So where is the process up to now? Will we know the outcome of the submissions? Will they be incorporated into the process? Where we know submissions will not be responded to individually, we do feel that as we seem to be the only party so severely impacted, that common courtesy would have meant some response. As an alternative, I am suggesting a slight alteration in the proposed plan. It will mean purchasing about the same amount of land as the current proposal, but the alignment is much less invasive and still joins the proposed roundabout with Woollands Avenue. It also avoids the flood-prone zone behind our home. Please look at the drawing, and I gather Margaret has copies
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
of everything for you. I have included and consider it. It would certainly allay our fears considerably if it was adopted. Finally, I ask each one of you, would you be happy about a road route being changed after you had built and settled into your home? Would you be happy with trucks rumbling past just 12 metres from your bedroom? Would you be checking your house for cracks from vibration? These are not covered by house insurance. Would you like vehicle lights lighting up your bedroom throughout the night? Would you enjoy your morning coffee looking out at a road, or worse, a wall? You can see the sketches that I've included of our current view and an artist's impression of what we are expecting. If the current plan goes ahead, we need to look at all the actions open to us so that at least we have some redress to offset the loss of our environment and the degradation of our home. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any questions or points of clarification for me?
Yes, I'm through the chair. One, thank you. That was amazing and had a huge impact. I can see that it's had a huge impact on you. The consultation process has, or the submission process has closed, but I'm wondering if it seems like the consultation process is still continuing. Would you like to put forward your submission with your drawings into that process?
Yes, certainly I would.
And maybe table that today?
That would be great.
But I don't know about whether it's just that I think consultation is still continuing. So that might be able.
The writing manager has been forwarded your submission.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he's aware of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And our next public forum speaker, I believe, is online. Hello, Wendy. And I understand, Len, you're supporting.
Yes,
Wendy, would you like to come up?
Some visual PowerPoint stuff purely in support.
Okay. Margaret's our technical advisor today.
Okay.
So. Are you wishing to speak as well, Wendy?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yep, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. This is a submission on the Waiuna Bay Waterfront Reserve, the Esplanade Reserve. I want to make 4 points. The first one is that this is a public asset. And the second one is it should be preserving the reserve should be paid for out of rates. And thirdly, as a technical point, the existing sea wall has demonstrated that under the circumstances of Waiuna Bay, a sea wall does not the ocean to scour the beach. And then Len will make a presentation on proposed methods of construction. So thank you. First of all, the Waiuna Bay Waterfront Reserve is a public asset. The crucial thing is to preserve the existing width of the reserve, because it is the width of the reserve that enables families to come in their cars and park with 3 generations. Then they can lay out a rug, and I've seen this, the old people sit on the reserve on the edge of the beach, on the rug, and they don't have to carry all their picnic and camping gear. They can have it loaded from the car onto the rug. The old people sit there and they watch the grandchildren play on the beach and swim in the sea. So the reserve, with its width, is what needs to be protected and retained. We gather that the Waiona Bay Reserve is one of Coromandel Town's most favoured family beaches. So that's why we regard it as a public asset. In summer, there would be 100-fold more people using Waiona Bay for recreation than the residents in the bay. Now, Waiona Bay Peninsula is zoned residential along its length. The sections are very narrow and the houses are tightly packed. So there is a very considerable income from rates. At Waiona Bay, we're not reticulated for water and we're not reticulated for sewerage. We don't even have a footpath along the length of Waiona Bay Road, even though we're zoned residential. So I do believe there is a very great shortfall between the amount of rates taken from the residents and the return of community assets to Waiona Bay. So I think it's fair and square to propose that preserving the Esplanade Reserve would be paid for from rates. So that's the second point I want to make. Now, a really important point is some engineers have said that sea walls scour. At the south end of Waiona Bay, there is an existing sea wall that has stood for 30 years. There is no scouring. And I can see the reason for this. We're not a surf beach. The harbour is very often like a lake. And secondly, we have a great apron of mudflat, so that a great deal of the time when there's a storm, the sea is pounding the mudflat, not pounding the sea wall. Anyway, the observation is that the existing sea wall has not caused scouring. And we would like to propose that the existing sea wall is completed along the length of the waterfront of Waiona Bay so as to preserve the width of the Esplanade Reserve. And I'm going to ask Len now, please, if he would very kindly show you photographs of the rapid erosion that is occurring on the Waiona Bay waterfront and a method of construction that was originally proposed by Lindsay Lyons, who is here online attending this meeting. So thank you. Those are the points I think that are relevant after many 15 years of submissions that we've already made since 2007, so that you have already tabled the detail in all those submissions. Rosemary DeLuca has asked just to add a note that the iconic Norfolk pine that was planted by an original settler is coming back to life. So if a seawall is completed, then we have a very good chance of saving that Norfolk pine. Anyway, there are comments also I've tabled today from other residents who were not given speaking space. So thank you very much. And Len, please take over from here.
Thank you, Wendy. About a minute away. So while we've got a PowerPoint presentation, which has just been sent to government, we're just waiting for that download so that we can bring it up on the screen. But while we're doing that, I'll just give the team a bit of background as to how I stuck my sticky beak into this. Wendy very kindly reached out to me about a month ago because I was attending some of the shoreline management meetings, and said, look, what would you like to meet the team, come and have some lunch and see what we've got going on down here, and just as an interest thing. So I said, I'd love to. When I got there, it was clear to me that the problem that they've got there, first of all, was encroaching on the road, but secondly, was quite a small problem. And it looked to me like an easy fix compared to the basket of stuff that was in the shoreline management plan. And because I'd been sitting in on a number of those meetings and tallying up the potential cost to the council of the SMP mitigations over the next 30, 40, 50 years, we were up at around $1.1 billion of potential cost to council. Now, for Waiuna Bay to end up in that basket just did not seem proportionate or reasonable. So I said to Wendy, have you spoken to Community Board and had a chat with them to see if this could go on to the Community Board work program? Because we're talking about a very low seawall. It's about 500 millimetres high. It's an extension of the existing seawall that was built, I thought it was about 70 years ago. It's been there a very long time. It works. And then I went down in Tairua, I went down to Bayview Terrace, and there's an almost identical seawall in Bayview Terrace on an inlet doing a very similar thing. And I took some photographs of that seawall, and I thought it's worth having a talk to Community Board to see if there's something that you think could be managed within the Community Board work program rather than waiting 50 years in the SMP basket. So if we can get those pictures up, then it'll give you an overview of what's involved, and then maybe the Community Board can do an assessment on whether it's reasonable or not. I understand that Ed Varley, or one of the roading engineers, has been out and had a look at the erosion. The erosion is undercutting the road. There's quite a lot of kikuyu, which is kind of holding it all together. But that erosion is undercutting the road. And if you look at the pictures of the 2018 storm, it's basically coming right across the road and right through the letterboxes and undercutting that shoreline there. Not a big problem to fix, but I'd be interested to see whether the Community Board thinks it could be done within the program and outside of the SMP. So,
excuse me, Len, I haven't actually received anything yet, Bubbles. Len, those pictures that you're referring to, are they the pictures that Wendy sent through with the correspondence prior to the meeting?
it might be some of them. Can you bring those up?
Sure, just want to
Okay.
bear with me.
It has gone out. It'll still be driving down the Thames coast.
Okay, that's one of them. So there we go. So there you can see the turning circle at the end of the cul-de-sac there.
Right.
And that, I think, is from the 2018 storm.
Yeah.
And that there is the curb and channel there is essentially being undercut in that picture. Yeah, that's 2018. Yeah. And the kikuyu is regrown, but there's nothing underneath it. It's just mat. Have you got any pictures of the old seawall further down? Exposed infrastructure, which is a concern.
No, I've only got the ones that Wendy sent through with her correspondence.
Okay, no worries. So once they come through, I'm sure they can be forwarded through to the Community Board members. So yeah, but that's pretty much it from me. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Wendy.
Thank you. Amongst Len's photographs that I haven't sent you is a photograph of movable concrete blocks which can be assembled. Len had photographed them at another place where they had.
There is Tairua.
Excellent. Yes. So they seem to have been tried successfully. And this was Lindsay Lyon's original proposal, was to use movable blocks that can be just dropped into place and then backfilled behind. So Len has found an example of where concrete blocks are being used successfully. And we think that that might be quite a reasonably economical method of construction. So that photograph is amongst Len's photographs, but unfortunately not amongst mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Now, I see Lindsay's online. Is there anything you wish to add, Lindsay, or are you observing today?
Well, good morning all. Thanks for me to speak. I think you pretty much covered it, Wendy and Len. Yeah, there is a problem there, and its problem is increasing. There's no doubt about that. The concrete blocks idea I presented to council about 2 years ago. I think it's a good idea. They're actually the buttress blocks, the same as you see on motorways, that can be relocated down the track. So I think that's quite an economical way to do it, rather than spending a huge amount of money. They can be changed, they can be moved around, and as Wendy just said, they can be backfilled behind them. Because the basic in the Waiona Bay, there's the shell. Under the shell is a clay pan which they can sit on, and they won't be undermined. So to me, it's quite an easy and economical fix for a problem that we can see is going to get worse. But I won't say too much more than that. But I think that. But once again, thanks for letting me speak. I think that's a problem that we, as a community board, can achieve, and we can sort it out quite easily. Thank you.
We now have those pictures if you wish me to share them.
Yes, please, Don.
Yes, please. Yep, we've got an easy agenda today, so we've got time.
So there you can see the kikuya's grown back over, but where the feet are there, it slopes right down, and there's just no substrate underneath it. It just pulls away. And there's a picture in there in further different pages of the PowerPoint of the old wall, and it gives you an idea of the height involved. It's very small. There's the old wall there. That's it there, yeah. Now that's further down, and right next to it is the Waiona Bay Tairua movable blocks, which could provide, a low-cost, easy fixed solution. And that's it. That's the key pictures, the ones we wanted you to see. So.
Does the board have any questions or clarification?
I do. I took photos in 2018, which I've got here, showing the walls. So this is around the boat ramp,
yep.
And I did go along and walk along Woodruff Road. But just to say that the shoreline management panel that Kim and I have both been on, we did go down. We visited it as part of the originally, and we realised that was work that did need to be done. It was put forward, and we'll go to council. There are some things in the management plan that have been identified as needing to be done now or looked at immediately, and Waiona Bay was one of them. Waiona Bay and Ruffins Bay, and I brought the this is from the shoreline management regarding Waiona Bay as to what to do and when, but I can't sort of quite read it properly. Seawalls, it's got here, the figure illustrates the inundation hazard in this location, which is limited. In addition, seawalls exist in Waiona Bay and Ruffins Bay as protection from coastal erosion. This erosion risk extends between Waiona Bay and Ruffins Bay. So they are aware of it, but they are very aware of it and they know that something needs to be done. So they'll be making recommendations in the final, when it's finally presented to council, about some areas that need to be looked at now. And WRC are very involved, etc. So, Wendy, you'll be pleased to know that it has been taken note of, and that it is seen as something not in the long term, but something that needs to be dealt with now. So there's a few areas around the peninsula where those things will be looked at sooner than later, rather than later.
Thank you, Jan. And I'd like to acknowledge that the board have previously received a submission from Wendy and Lindsay Lyons, Hamish Charleston, Wendy Pond and Christina Marston on this matter. From a roading perspective, there are currently no funds allocated to protect or repair the existing road asset until such time as it is significantly impacted, at which time it would qualify for emergency works and receive funding slightly easier. There is WRC consent required to undertake any works on the seawall, which has not been requested of them as yet. We haven't applied for consent to do any such work at this point in time. And as Jan has pointed out, the SNP has identified that there is an issue there. And it does mention that an upgrade to the seawall it may be necessary, but because it is a slow erosion problem, it's currently at a low priority. So it is very much on everybody's radar. It's just a matter of timing and funding, and your submission to the board to make it a part of our works program will be taken into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public report?
Okay, no other speakers in public forum, Donna? Online?
No, Peter, that's all I was aware of. We just need a mover and a seconder for public forum, please.
I'll move it.
Yeah, moved by Kim, seconded by Jan. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. So there being no members of the public, you may remove your mask if you wish. Are there any items not on the agenda to be brought up? There being none, are there any conflicts of interest for anyone to declare?
I'm just not sure,
Not sure, yeah.
not sure on the works program for, sorry, misplaced words.
For the park.
Yeah, parks.
Yep.
Do I have to declare an interest in that? Because some of it could be work that Kevin and I do.
I don't think so.
No, that's the point of you filling out those forms that governance send to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, I just thought I'd bring it up.
And this is, they're really just receiving this report. There's going to be no decision made.
Right,
Yeah.
cool.
Plus it's next year's work, so whether
You
you.
don't know.
It's a little bit-
That was hard.
But yeah,
Checking.
but yeah, I'm glad that you did.
Future planning, eh, Kim?
Thank you. Future planning, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so item 1.6, minutes for confirmation. Having been previously circled, would anyone like to move that, maybe
Yep, I'll move that.
Oh, second.
Jan and Kim? All those in favour, please say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thank you. So the next item, 2.1, page 11 on our.
I can't get online, so I can't open up my,
Oh, I've got a hard copy here if you want a
Yeah,
hard
thank
copy.
There's a spare one, Jan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jan's got one, that's
Thank you
great.
very much. Spare reading. The ones you have are public excluded ones.
Yes.
Okay, so Margaret looks like she's got her name on the top of this. Is there anything you wish
Who
to?
did that? Obviously, the board has had the opportunity to workshop with staff and go through the bylaw. But of course, going through it again, we realised that we had omitted to add a couple of the reserves in. And I understand that our district manager has spoken to you about that, Peter, and that the
Yes.
board is wanting to make a submission.
Yes, he has, and has that proposed submission been circulated? I believe you've got a copy of it
Yes,
there.
it was.
Anyone have any feelings for, against, anything, comments that I'd to add onto the draft?
Fine.
all good.
No, I also.
Let's just read out for clarity's sake the
Yes.
final bit that shows what you're actually submitting about.
Yeah, okay, so the submission is generally in favour of the freedom camping proposed by law, but we feel that the proposed freedom camping bylaw 2022, but we wish to ensure that Araki Tahi Reserve in Tikuma and Parakirikiri Reserve in Coromandel Town be included into Schedule 1. As set out in the Coromandel-Colville Reserve Management Plan, the Arikitahi Reserve is a culturally significant area to tangata whenua, and there are archaeological sites located there. The reserve is adjacent to the wharf and the boat ramp facilities that are heavily used by both commercial and recreational marine users, and for which there is a high demand for car and boat trailer parking. Harakirikiri Reserve is used for a number of purposes: the Fury Creek boat ramp, toilets, netball courts, and a boat haul-out area for large recreational boats and barges. There is also a recreational boat ramp on the western end of the reserve. Importantly, the reserve is also subject to the settlement of a historic Treaty of Waitangi claim. It is understood that freedom camping is not desired in this location, and that on settlement, the bylaw will no longer apply to the land. Staff should check these points as required. And as other comments, the CCCB consider that staff should, subject to checking with iwi, ensure that both reserves be included as a prohibited area in Schedule 1. Prohibited areas of the proposed Freedom Camping Bylaw 2022 to ensure that the cultural values of the reserves are protected and it can continue to be accessed by other users, and to protect the health and safety of people who visit. So I propose that we submit as I've just stated there.
Second.
Yep. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carry. The actual resolution in our agenda says that I could also say that we received the draft Freedom Camping Bylaw, Coromandel-Colville Community Report, dated 10th of August 22, and confirm that the Coromandel-Colville Board submission to the draft Freedom Camping Bylaws is submitted. There you are.
Right.
Submitted.
Submitted. It will be.
Okay, moving on to item 3.1, Coromandel-Colville Parks Work Programme. This is Derek's name on it. Is Derek online today? There he is indeed. Good morning, Derek.
Morning, the board. How are you all?
Morning, Derek.
Super.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the opportunity. This is basically a very rough synopsis of our expenditure this financial year for the board's interest. And it gives you a quick overview as to how we promulgate our renewal program. So that's about $45,000 worth of work. And the majority of that will be at relatively low level assets such as fences and picnic tables and seats, etc. Scott will be doing a lot of work around that, and it's basically in most instances replacing like with like. Some cases it might not necessarily be in the exact same location. There might be a shift in locations or even potentially parks, but generally keeping the same asset numbers that we've got in place. The minor reserves budget is $15,000 approximately, and that's extensions. So that's adding to our asset database. Now there's two roughly main projects in regards to that, and Scott will be working really closely with Bubbles on the any work around the dog park area and the promises and the the extensions, the good work that's already gone on there. And potentially some work around the Long Bay Kauri Walk entrance. We were hoping to get some external funding regarding that, and we've made an application to WRC, which is by MPI, Ministry of Primary Industries, which is outlaying some additional funding out to the different local authorities that have kauri on their land, look after kauri. So we haven't heard back from that as to whether or not we've been successful. If we are successful, then we would not spend any of council's money in that area. We will be spending grant funding in that area. There's also an additional budget, which is 148K or thereabouts, and that's to do with the breaking in of the new extension area at the Buffalo Cemetery. I'm sure the board's aware, it's down at the lower end of the cemetery. Quite probably 12, 15 years ago, there's a parcel of land purchased, and Paula, the district cemeteries coordinator, has worked really, really hard in terms of getting it to the stage where we're actually now physically breaking ground this financial year, and that money is associated with drainage works and also entranceway and roading, and some further additional works like the construction of berms, etc. So that's a basic synopsis. Hopefully everything's clear. Are there any questions?
Any questions?
Well, no, no, I don't, no.
So you mentioned the carry dieback protection. Is that separate to the entranceway, or are they one and the same?
Pretty much one of the same, yes. So the government's announced quite some millions of dollars to do with the introduction of its National Pest Management Plan. And we're hoping that we would be successful in attaining some funding there. We have to see what happens there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Derek. So the resolution is that we receive the Coromandel-Colville 22-23 Parks Work Programme report dated 26th of July 2022.
Yep.
We have a mover for them. Thank you, Jan. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, John. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
board.
Derek.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
So next item 4.1 on page 14 with Andrew Bowden. Good morning, Andrew. I saw you earlier. No.
What's there?
Who's there? Yeah, no, he's there.
Oh, yeah, on there.
Andrew.
Probably okay. So we've got the
Well, we can go through it.
program, and it's only the one resolution. So we'll just work our way through, and if we've got any questions, we can always grab Andrew later. So this is really just finalising the current year, isn't it?
The financial year we've just come out of.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just the wrap up.
Yeah.
You've only got one in the red there.
And
Yeah.
then
And that's
at the next board meeting, you'll get the new capital works program.
Yeah.
So unless you've got any specific questions about.
I have to say I haven't. But anyone else?
I just wondered where the land purchase was up to, you know, the designated land.
Is John
Or Takuma Road?
No,
across the housing?
for the.
I understand it's this close, Jan, and the paperwork is being done, and I'm being told October is the date it will happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And that came from the ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
good.
Okay.
It's only been 21 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, I understand October is the final date that all things will be signed over.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Oh, that's good.
But nothing's,
yeah, the wheels.
Yeah, until we actually get the signed paper of, yeah. But
Okay.
we're hoping with
We
it.
have an email.
Yeah, that's exactly my point.
And that is actually Sandra Gowdy that's done that. Thank you, Sandra.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Morning.
Morning, Andrew.
Sorry, I was indisposed then.
Yeah. Enough information.
Yeah.
As you can see from the hard copy that you've got, all the projects have been completed, apart from our old favourite Takuma intersection, which is the geotech testing that has been issued to Waka Kotahi. So they've got that at the moment, and we've had some good consultation with iwi, Ngāti Whanonga, and they are updating their cultural impact assessment as we speak. The carry forward amounts were presented to council at the last meeting and approved. So yeah, when we come to next month's meeting, there'll be an update with updated budgets as well. Any questions?
Jan, yep.
Through the chair. Morning, Andrew.
Morning, John.
We had some people in at public forum this morning regarding the bypass, and they are wanting to submit their submission along with pictures of a possible deviation to the plan. And so, but that submission has been put in accordingly. Is that, I'm just wondering if it's able to go in as part of the, given that the consultation isn't complete yet, whether that can go in.
It's not a formal process.
Well, that should be issued to Ed Valley for review.
Yeah, it's an alternative route that may have.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But Ed will be the person who will, not me, who will review it and see if it's possible or not, or whatever, its merits or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Jan?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
So those Long Bay Reserve access steps, this is a wrap up of the current work, but has that actually happened? It says to be programmed on the work schedule.
Are you talking about the ones that we got in the public forum about and asking for steps to be built down to the beach?
Long Bay, yes, I think so. That might have been in a meeting not long ago.
It's at the end of the action
So
schedule.
this will reappear on your new schedule that's
Yes.
coming.
Yeah.
But I have spoken with Jamie, our coastal scientist, and Scott Bell, and so it is being programmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, but it will definitely happen before, hopefully before Labour weekend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, hopefully. It's very Coromandel, very political speak. Definitely, hopefully.
Just a question really, not so much about the work program, but the geotech for the Tikuma Road intersection.
Yes.
Given the nature of the road from the Sugarloaf to the state highway, is that geotechnically sound for the nature of the road? Does that impact on your new intersection or?
It's the geotech is more associated with the state highway itself, and alterations to that within the design are subject to approval from Waka Kotahi. But the road that you're talking about, Tekuma Road, Peter, is we understand is fine.
It's fine, yeah. Okay.
Waka Kotahi are being a little difficult. It's the polite way of saying it. And we have a geotechnical engineer employed by Pinnacles, and we've also been asked to provide peer review comments on the design and the geotech. So this has been a long process of getting the testing done. That's gone back to Waka Kotahi, and it will be subject to their review and approval. Once we have that information or approval from Waka Kotahi, then we can start continue the negotiations with one, iwi, and two, the Moore family, who own land around the intersection. And in the design, there is because of the liquefaction there is a requirement for some loading to be put on the area to allow for some settlement. So, and you can see the expected completion date, we've said 30th of June 2024. That is realistic. This is a very, very challenging project, not only from technically, but also from negotiations with people. And I'm told that those negotiations go as far back as 2012. So yeah, this is a very challenging project, and but we have the right people talking to the owners, who I believe have got some yeah, they've got some expectations to what they can do with the land that are we believe unrealistic.
Oh, okay. Any other questions about the work program? There being none, then the resolution is that the community board receives the final work program 21-22 report dated 27th July 2022. I'm happy to move. Yeah.
Second.
Move for John.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you. Thank you.
which means that we can, we're on item 4.1.
5.1.
We've got two 4.1s. Members' reports.
5.1.
5.1.
Members' reports here.
Right, who's first?
Okay, who's got a members' report for me?
Nothing for me.
Nothing from you.
No, it's been pretty quiet.
I can always rely on,
Only people wanting to know whether I was going to stand.
can always rely on Dan.
Okay, well, some of it I've already clarified, but I went, the dog users, but the dog park asked me to, go for a walk over, and so I could have a look and see what they have done. And it's amazing. And they are so happy. They're really happy with the Doggy Doos plastic
Yep.
bag dispenser thing. I did notice though the signs are getting like water soaked and rotting a bit. So, and I thought they
Is
were
that
coated.
the big sign?
The big
Because
sign that's- yeah.
the RSA have taken, they took them away and had something done to them. So are they deteriorating again?
Well, yeah, you can see there's water stains in it. I mean, it seems like they need to do, like there's a protective coating that you can put on. I know, I do know that. But I just think it's a stitch in time. It would be a stitch in time. So.
Yeah, no, I'll get that looked at because
Yeah.
they've literally only come back in a couple of months,
Yes.
those
yeah.
signs. So
Yeah.
I'll follow that up, Jen.
And the way that the users have actually cleared away a lot of the kikuyu that was under the trees, like it was kikuyu really, really high, and so they'd cleared away. But it does need council to go in there, or whoever, to go in there and keep it down, because it's starting, I can see where it's starting to reach the point where it's difficult to, you know, it's going to be difficult to deal with. It's going to be a major. So another thing
Yep,
is.
that's why it's on this
continue on main
program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've finally got a budget for it now, Jen.
Great,
Yeah.
fantastic. So that was great, and they're doing some really good things and got some good plans for it, and they're happy to do it. They're going to do a fundraiser. So yeah, that's really good. But Peter, I just wanted to say, as this is your last meeting, and I'm not actually going to be there tonight, I just want to say that it's been an absolute pleasure to work with you over the last 6 years. And although we haven't always seen eye to eye, and we do have differences, I've always felt that you have always been able to keep it within the integrity of the board and its meetings. And so I have a lot of respect for you that you've done that. And I want to thank you for what you have contributed to this board. I feel it's been a really good team and that you've led it really, really well.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you very much.
And I'm sorry you won't be there tonight.
So what we
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah.
John?
I just endorse everything Shan said. She said a lot. No, she didn't. No. You have been a good chairperson. You've been an exceptional chairperson.
I
in
agree.
Well-run community boards, been some difficult times from time to time,
Yes.
public forums.
Yes.
And surprisingly enough, the feedback I've got from some of the public that have attended those forums has been they felt like they were listened to fairly and given a chance. So you've done well on that front. So yes, you're going to be missed, and I don't know what's going to happen next term, but all will be revealed in a month or two's time. Going back to the dog park, yes, I've been talking to those people too. They are absolutely wrapped with what they've been given. I mean, that was completely out of the blue, no budget allocated for it. It caught us, you know, they came and made some requests. Bubbles can take all credit for that one. She came up with the solution.
maybe the idea, not the
You came up
work.
with the solution. But they are actually fundraising, and Scotty and yourself, are you aware of that, Bubbles? Because they need to work with us.
Yeah, Scott's built quite a rapport with them now.
Yeah.
Scott's our parks person.
Great.
And we're fortunate that we're going to have Mo and his solid waste staff up here in the next week or so, who has committed to meeting with us to look at an extended area.
Cool.
Yeah, so no promises, but they're genuinely going to see what they can
Wow.
find for
Right.
us. Because the hope is to, and through the discussions that we've had with the dog people, is build a little bit of a dog agility park.
Yes, yeah, well, I think that's what they're fundraising for.
Correct. So we
Yeah.
kind of said, well, you know, if you can contribute and we can contribute, we should be able to come up with something. So, yeah.
Right, and the only other thing, a couple of other things, actually, I was lucky enough to go to the Local Government New Zealand conference down in Palmerston North with two other councillors. I'd previously been on them before. I went to two others in my last life as councillor. It was good. We got talks on the Resource Management Act, local government. We had, what's the comedian's name, Jackie Clark there. It was just awesome. I mean, the ministers that spoke to us just left in the dust by her. She was hilarious. But so it was good. It was good networking. The councillors I went with, they reported back to council, said they didn't think there was much value in it. I took the opposite view and said there was immense value in it. The networking was incredible. And talking to other councillors and mayors, and I made sure I got around and talked to as many as I could. I actually said at the council meeting after the negative reports from the two other councillors that I believe that we should make sure that we send our CEO and whoever the next mayor might be to those LGNZs. They are good value. I assure you, there's a lot of education there for anybody, even plebiscite councillors got a lot of value out of it. So those are good things to attend. The other thing was, of course, I don't have to face an election, guys.
Yes, well done.
I'm absolutely delighted. I mean, elections are things to be gone through, but it was good to get a mandate from, well, obviously I must be doing okay. Nobody stood against me. I would like to think that. So, I'm back for another 3 years and
Congratulations.
look forward to serving.
Well deserved too.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yep.
So that's me.
Thank you. And
Staff comment, sorry.
Your silence was noted, Bubble.
yes,
Only teasing.
well, I definitely think that the fact there's no other candidates is a recognition of the work that you've put in the last 3 years. And so no one wants you back on the police force.
Nice one, Peter.
And your comments on local government I endorse as well. I've been to two of the community board local government conferences, and I find them immensely valuable because you get to rub shoulders with people who are in exactly the same walker as you are, and frankly, I think that we're actually as a community board better represented by council than a lot of the other community boards are. I think that we're actually taken seriously, and our comments are listened to and thought about, and I think we're in quite a good space compared to some of the other councils. For my members' report, all I can say is John and Bubbles and I attended a meeting with the rugby club about the proposed bypass. So definitely weren't thrown out of the room, and they have definitely we've got some thinking to do. So it was great to have that discussion finally after being delayed quite a few times with weather and other events. Also, the library making real progress. They've got their AGM here this afternoon, and they are talking about creating something like a sustainability committee, which will work with the sole goal of keeping the library sustainable in the future and how they produce revenue and that kind of thing. So that's encouraging.
Yeah,
they're very grateful for our additional grant this year, but they are very well aware that it's a one-off, and so now they are working at putting things together there. And the only other thing council related really is I've had a lot of communications about the upcoming elections. I would like to say thank you to all those that are standing again. You know, it does take real courage to put your head up above the parapet sometimes, and so good on you, and good luck to all those candidates. Congratulations, John, on being the sole member.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, so do we have a mover and seconder for those members' reports?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Kim and Jan. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. So now I will move that we move into public excluded. We have a seconder for
Just help
that.
Mr. Stock.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Lynn,
Thanks, Len.
and good luck.